Well, hello there, and welcome back to another ship review. I'm Corny Swiss, and today we'll be looking at the USS Omaha, a Tier 5 American cruiser. Now, as the case with every review, there will be all the different portions of this review will be time-stamped, so feel free to check those out if you want to watch a specific part, but if you want to hear the port view, or the port analysis, I guess, let's get started. So the USS Omaha CL-4 was laid down on December 6, 1918, launched on December 14, 1920, and commissioned in the U.S. Navy on February 24, 1923. She was decommissioned November 1st in 1945 and scrapped in February 1946. The USS Omaha is a light cruiser, and she served in the Atlantic Fleet, and most of her life was spent patrolling the South Atlantic and aiding in the operations in the Mediterranean. She never went to the Pacific. She never really saw huge action or tremendous ship-on-ship engagements. She was more so a patrol boat looking to interrupt German shipping, and her crew actually held the distinction of being the last crew to be awarded for a prize, to be awarded money for a prize, a ship taken when she captured the Odenwald, or whatever it is called, which was masquerading as a American freighter, but was actually a German freighter carrying a cargo of rubber. And that was a supply the Germans desperately needed, and the Omaha was one of the ships patrolling and managed to take the ship, even though the German crew attempted to scuttle her. So, its role was to be a patrol boat. It was supposed to kind of be just a fast ship running around out there, investigating ships and making sure the Germans weren't getting their supplies. And then also serving as kind of like flank security for larger fleet actions. So, what is it like in World of Warships? It's an interesting ship. It's very similar to the Tier 4 Phoenix. The only real difference is that you have a turret mounted on the front and the rear, and it looks a little different. But fundamentally, it's the same. In terms of playstyle, it's basically the same as well. Survivability, this thing has no armor, so don't worry about it. Like, I'll talk about a strategy to maximize survivability, but the Omaha has 0 armor, and it's honestly quite easy to get Citadel in this thing, or at least I have the experience in other ships citadeling Omahas very frequently. They're a preferred target when they're full broadside, so you generally don't want to be full broadside, and we'll talk about a way to avoid that. Aircraft, she can launch one fighter, and you have 3 of them, so that's cool. Fighters are pretty useful to help in the anti-air department. And I believe on my Omaha, I actually run the sonar, and I don't think you actually get a choice. But even if I had the choice to run the dual-purpose guns, which this ship has none, I think I would still run the sonar just because you get this aircraft and it does enough for rank 5. You know, you don't really need more than that at this tier. Artillery, your main battery consists of 6 turrets of, 6 one-gun 152mm turrets, and 2x2 152mm turrets. So basically you have 6 single guns and 2 double turrets with a range of 12.7 kilometers. Now you'll notice the arrangement. You can't actually bring all those guns to bear at once. You'll see here we have a double turret in the front with 4 single guns on either side. These 2 are actually paired, so it's actually really only actually no, they each count as a turret, now that I think about it, sorry. These are each 1 turret. So, you basically can bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guns to bear on the front, because those front-mounted turrets can actually turn in a little bit. So, off the bow of the ship, kind of in maybe a 5-degree arc or so, or maybe a little bit more, you can fire all the forward-mounted guns, which means that this ship can actually sail directly at someone and fire 6 guns at her, and make this ship a very difficult target to hit. It's a very skinny ship, and that's a strategy you can use to help survivability. And in the replay I'm going to show, and I only have one replay because I feel like it just highlights everything I want to hit, I'm going to use that strategy to great effect. Now, once we look at where the other guns are, you'll see that you have a single mounted gun here, one on the other side as well, and then a double mounted gun. So that means to the rear, you can bring out 4 guns to bear. Now, to the sides, the broadside is in fact better than the than just the like forward, just shoot firing forward. The broadsides actually bring more guns to bear, but it's generally not a good idea just because of how little armor this thing has. Maybe if you're engaging like a cruiser or something, or a destroyer or something like that. But then again, they'll be launching torpedoes, so you really don't want to do that either. Now, from a broadside, you can bring 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guns. So you can bring one more gun, which is why sailing directly at someone is a better idea. Just because, for your survivability's sake, trading one gun for a lot more HP, basically. If you think about it, it takes longer for them to kill you, is a good trade. You have 26,800 health, so that's not... Battleships can basically two-shot you with 2 citadels, kind of. And you really want to avoid taking fire, so sailing directly at people is a pretty good idea. Torpedoes, it's American torpedoes, they're not very good. 5.5 kilometer range. There are 2 triple mounted pods on either side of the ship, so you can only bring, here they are, you only really can bring 3 torpedoes to bear at any one time. And when you look at the statistics of the torpedo, reload time 44 seconds, not bad, and 56 knots, 5.5 range, they're not very good torpedoes. They're slow and they don't have very long range. So, that's not very good. The real place this almost a tank, this ship makes its money is in the main batteries. Right, 8.6 rounds a minute, that's really good. The 180 degree turn time is good. Dispersion's fine. Chance to cause a fire 12%, that's pretty good. You can upgrade that with crew skills. And the AP shell damage is fine, but you find yourself basically always firing HE in this thing just because the rate of fire is so quickly. You can just keep targets on fire, and you don't really have the armor penetration to really mess up like battleships or even some cruisers. So it's generally a good idea to just load HE and keep it slinging. AA guns. Omaha has decent AA. I say decent. I'm probably going to stick with decent. It's decent self-defense because none of this really has tremendous range. You have 10 by 1 20mm guns with a 2.1 kilometer range, 3 by 2 40mm guns with a 3.5, and then you have a 8 by 1 76.2 millimeters with 2 kilometer range. So a lot of that AAA or that AA is self-defense. It's going to be difficult to cover a fleet with it. You can stick close to battleships and cause some problems, but generally this anti-aircraft is all self-defense. So something to note. Minimize these just so I can look at the bottom things. Alright, maneuverability and concealment. Maximum speed 34.3 knots. This thing is a light cruiser, and it has basically destroyer speed at top speed, and 7.5 second rudder shift time, 600 meter turning radius. This thing is very nimble, very agile. It's difficult to hit. If you're paying attention, it's difficult to get hit by torpedoes in this thing, which makes it a very effective destroyer hunter because you have way more firepower than they do. You're basically as fast as they are, and you're agile enough to dodge their torpedoes, and they really can't run from you, especially with the sonar ability. So, that's pretty good. Concealment, surface detectability range 13.5 kilometers. You will note that that is greater than the main battery firing range, which it's not a big deal. You're moving fast. Hopefully you can avoid hits, but something to keep in mind. Air detectability range 6.7 kilometers. So you're not going to be able to do much from when you're basically always going to be spotted. If you can shoot at them, they've spotted you 100%. So you really have to be a little careful with this ship sometimes, not put yourself in position to take lots of hits. But like I said, you do have these 2 abilities here, the sonar basically, and it helps you acquire targets and torpedoes, which is super nice, and then you can obviously launch a fighter. The big debate a lot of people have is, should I go for Omaha Hull B or Omaha Omaha Hull C. Now I've decided to go for C. And the reason is that I'm willing to trade 2 main turret guns for the extra AA, for the 9 AA guns, because the main guns, I don't know. I don't really know. I'm kind of lost on which one to pick, but I decided on C just because of the extra AA. That's really all it was. The secondaries are basically useless. The torpedo tubes, I'm sorry, not secondaries. The torpedoes are basically useless in my opinion. This is a gunship, really. So I don't really bother with the torpedoes, because if I'm doing it right, I shouldn't really be in range for torpedoes. So generally don't bother with extra torpedoes. And the 2 extra guns, I'm not that worried about. I'd rather have a little more AA for self-defense, because a lot of carriers will launch dive bombers against you, and they can be real problems. And also, if you are escorting a battleship, even though your AA is more self-defense, they can benefit from that, and maybe combined you can shoot down a squadron or something. You can shoot down a bunch of planes. So I go for Omaha Hull C. But you could probably argue for B, and it's kind of personal preference, I feel like. If you find yourself in a position where you use torpedoes a lot and you have success, then go for B, because you get 2 more torpedo pods. You know, that's cool, right? But I usually go for C. So, as a quick overview of the Omaha, it's a really fast light cruiser. It has much better firepower than destroyers and can really be a thorn in the side of battleships. But you need to keep this thing safe, and you need to use a couple strategies to minimize the target you're presenting to the enemy. And one such strategy is to sail directly at them. You minimize the target they can hit, and a lot of battleships, for example, they're just going to bracket you because their guns can't train in on one point, really. So, meanwhile, you have 6 guns firing at them, lobbing HE at them and causing them serious problems. So, let's get on into the replay, shall we? So here we are in a domination match on, I don't know the name of this map. I never look at the names. I'm heading for the C cap in my Omaha. I have another Omaha next to me, and it looks like we have a destroyer out front. And basically the plan is I kind of want to push the enemy out from C and then move on to B, but I always have kind of a variable idea when I come in here. Because if things get too hot, I can always bail out the little side channel and hopefully not run into anything on the way out, but get out of a sticky situation around C. If the enemy don't bring very much, I can keep pushing forward through C and then maybe stop and turn around before I exit the safety of the kind of channel here. But having a DD out in front is super nice, because he's going to be able to spot out targets, and boom, we got a little bit of warning on what's coming around here. Let's see, what do we got? Looks like an Omaha, and looks like that's a St. Louis, isn't it? Oh no, I'm sorry, that's a Phoenix. It's an Omaha and a Phoenix. Now you can see what I'm doing here. I'm making myself a small target and just firing away with the front guns, and with a minor amount of dodging, I'm actually able to avoid most hits. The destroyer just launched off some torpedoes. Those are bold, but I'm just not going to try and not get hit by them. It can be tricky to keep your guns pointing, but it just takes a little practice, a little getting used to keeping the guns going straight. Dodge those torpedoes, no problem. Here comes some more, but I'm not tremendously worried. I'm quick enough, I should just outrun them. Destroyers moving back into engage. There we go. There's those 5 turrets firing 6 guns. So I'm going to fire more torpedoes coming. See, in like a battleship, you would have 0 chance in here because there's just so many torpedoes flying around. And we're just wasting this guy. I've only taken very minor damage, and this guy's basically toast. There we go. He's sunk. Shot out a plane there too. That's nice. Now this Omaha, I'm showing him my broadside. Does a little bit of damage to me. But now I'm straightening up, and I'm going to keep presenting the forward part of my ship, because he's giving me the broadside, so you know my chances are much higher because our firepower is very similar to the exact same. So by presenting a smaller target, I give myself a better chance. Now this is a bold move right here. The enemy have a lot of stuff coming this way. which is going to make it awkward for me as I round this this headland here. You can see, oh, looks like the destroyer just got hit, or someone got hit. I guess that was the other Omaha, or someone. I don't know. Wasn't really looking at what he was. But I need to turn. I need to get out of Dodge. This is a bad place for an Omaha to be. You really, some hits. You really don't want to be playing around in the enemy's guns like this. Try and nail this guy. Get that kill if I can. That'd be nice. And got him. That's cool. Now there's a South Carolina coming in. There's a bunch of other stuff coming in. So I'm just going to fire some parting shots, put this thing in gear, and just try and get out of Dodge. But now I have a choice where I can go down the center channel there. Well, basically I can go back the way I came, or I can go down the little channel and try and be sneaky around the rocks. And ultimately I'm going to decide to go down the channel and try and get a sneaky, maybe a torpedo run, maybe just some sneaky HE shots, cause some damage, because there are some heavily wounded ships running around. But I really would like to set that South Carolina on fire and get him cooking so I can stack up some free damage, basically. But he is being a little stubborn. And at this point, it's okay to show your broadside just because he's really far away. He's not shooting at me. If he was to start shooting at me, I would probably turn more to avoid. Oops, nope. Go down the channel. Don't do that. Put on some hits. Okay. Now the way the battle's kind of developed, we've taken C, but the enemy are kind of hemming us in, so we need to break out. And the easiest way to break out here is to go through this channel and start lighting things up over here. We have some support already in here, but one of those support ships is a heavily damaged cruiser, so if I can get over here and start pumping rounds, and hopefully I can sneak around the rocks and maybe draw attention for a few moments. But this is going to be a long haul. The enemy are grouped fairly well, and we aren't. So it's going to take some doing to really bust out their formation. And because when the enemy are clumped like this, you almost have to drive a wedge into them. You have to whittle them down and then just punch through, which can be difficult to do in a bunch of cruisers. If we had a bunch of battleships up here, we would just go right at them and probably run them over just by weight. Because with battleships, this tactic works too, by driving straight at them, because, you know, most of the time a battleship has 2 forward-mounted turrets, excuse me, and you can take advantage of most of your firepower. Only got half the salvo off there, the other half hit the rock. Oh, and this cruiser's not looking very good. But now it's time to assess the situation. You can see the enemy are pushing down around to try and retake C, which might be the right move. I'm not sure. We're moving in to take B. We have guys over in the vicinity of A, so we're going to start threatening a triple cap here if they don't do something. Enemy South Carolina. He's probably going to be looking at me, so I need to start taking... Oh, he's not, but I really should be taking evasive maneuvers, and I am going to duck behind this island, I think. Or else drive in front of it and then duck behind the next one. And when you're firing HE at someone, try and take the time to line up on their superstructure. Notice how I'm aiming slightly above the hull and trying to hit the center of mass on the superstructure rather than just hit the side of the hull, because you'll do more damage. You'll hit more stuff. You'll set them on fire easier, things like that. But this guy's just sitting duck, and oh, those are coming for me. Turn, boys. Oh, weren't ready for that. I find that I always launch the plane, even though like he's not going to help me, just in case we have to abandon ship. The plane's already away, you know, so at least someone will survive. But we sunk the South Carolina, so that's good. And a lot of that was, well, combined fire, but also just hammering the superstructure and wearing him out with the HE rounds and keeping him on fire. Fire sneakily burns up a lot of a ship.
Our team has taken the lead.
Now the enemy are ahead on points, but we do hold an advantage in cap circles. However, the enemy did have a lot of stuff around C, and they're not spotted anymore, so we don't really know the situation over there. You will note on the map, though, we do have a cruiser heading for A, so that's pretty good. And I'm basically going to move in and try and support this guy as he pushes out and tries to take on this Wyoming. I believe that's Wyoming. I can't read because the view is very small in my editing software. But it looks like he's going to go around the other side of the hill, and I really don't want to engage in a gunfight with him. The problem I'll run into is that one salvo from him can very easily end my game, and we're at a point in the game where every ship is valuable. Oh, he's already pre-fired the corner, so he knew I was coming. Fortunately, he did very minor damage. It's time to start lighting him up. I'm trying to decide what to do here. I decided to turn away from this guy and basically avoid him, and also try and avoid the Wyoming. I really don't want to fight any of them. I would much rather have my friendly ship go forward and take some hits. But I can try and line up on a sneaky torpedo run here. And basically I'm going to try and launch these torpedoes and then run away. But he is actually turning away from me, so it's going to be difficult, especially with slow torpedoes. And he's on the very edge of the range.
The enemy team has taken the lead.
Fire a little bit behind the projected arc just because I know he's turning / sailing away from me. And we're going to start lighting him up with HE and then start turning away to avoid incoming fire. Oops. Took a lot of damage there. But hopefully that's the only salvo he's really going to get off at me. There we go. Fire. That's what we wanted. And I'm just going to go full broadside because I know he's fired because I took the hit. And sneak out around this island. Torpedoes are definitely going to miss. So now I have more decisions to make. I need to get back towards the middle of the map because that's where the enemy are going to be fighting. And I really need to help my teammates eliminate those guys way over there. But also it would be nice if I could get after this Wyoming. But ultimately I'm going to make the decision that I need to sail back towards my teammates and use the cover of this island to let me shell these guys as they come through these passes. Because it looks like the South Carolina is actually going to move through the pass, which is going to give me the opportunity to open up on his sides, and he's probably not going to return fire at me. Now the enemy do hold the advantage in points. They have taken C, but we are in the process of taking A. And we actually hold a better position on the map. They're kind of hemmed in, so we generally know where they are. The key is going to be kind of reconciling the health pool differences. We have a mostly full health battleship moving in. I believe that's battleship. And myself over here off to the side, we're going to start shelling this guy. And it's a South Carolina, so I'm not horribly scared of it. It looks like a New York over there, so that thing's going to bring some firepower, and he's going to eat up this South Carolina. And just going to keep the guns firing. We should be able to clean him up. Oops. Looks like the New York will probably get him. Oh, Wyoming took a shot at me, but I'm at long range. I'm moving quickly. It'll be very difficult for him to hit me. Coming around the headland, or the island rather, time to light up this South Carolina. Hopefully it doesn't. Oh, looks like we're going to get it. Oh, got it. There we go. Another battleship. Now the Wyoming's sailing back towards us now. And I had kind of a crisis, an internal crisis here. It's how do I handle this? Ultimately, I'm going to decide I need to sail closer to the island, and basically I want to set up a torpedo run on him. Because at this point of the game, I'm looking to... My ship's heavily damaged. I'm looking to just get as much damage done as possible to help assure the victory. And it looks like we're going to win so long as if we trade up. Or trade up. So trading up would be me destroying a battleship for my cruiser. That would be a positive trade because because the points would work out in our favor. But I'm not quite sure what to do here. So I'm not confident in my ability to torpedo this guy, and I really don't want to engage in a gun duel because that's a duel I just won't win. One salvo from him will likely sink me. So I'm kind of biding time here. I'm trying to see, basically, do I even need to engage this guy? Or are we just going to win on points? Comes back my fighter. And we are not going to win on points in time. This guy is going to clear the headland before we can win. So I'm going to need to deal with him, because I'm honestly in the best position to deal with him. But I will have the advantage of having this little headland here, or this. I keep calling it headland. It's more like an island. This island here is going to be useful. And my first thought was, well, what if I sit right next to the island, get the salvo off, and then immediately speed up and duck back around? But I really don't want to give him any opportunity to shoot at my broadside, because shooting at my broadside basically assures him the kill, assuming he can lead me properly. So I'm going to continue around the island and then go nose on to him. This is the strategy I was talking about in the port section. I'm pretty confident he's not going to be able to hit me with more than 1 or 2 shells from the front, and they're not likely to cause super duper damage because the front of my armor is so heavily sloped. However, he is going to likely cause some damage if I take a hit. And I can't take many, because this thing doesn't have armor, but it's like, if the armor is super heavily sloped, it might still not do any damage. And there he is. So I'm head on to him, and I'm going to stay this way, and I'm going to kind of wiggle a little bit just to keep my my direction. He's on pretty low health. See, I take a hit there, but it was very minor. And I'm just going to keep shelling him. And he's on fire. It looks like he can't repair it or put the fire out, so I'm just going to eat him up like this. And as long as I don't take hits, should be fine. And you can see he's just bracketing me. His guns just can't hit me. And there you go. Enemy battleship destroyed. Oh, that is the enemy carrier. Now, enemy carriers, it's okay to go broadside. My goal here was just to output as much damage as possible onto this guy. So I slowed down because I wanted to just sit here and pound him. But now, just earned the Confederate Award. That's pretty cool. But the enemy are going to start bringing in his dive bombers, so I'm going to need to switch it up here. Just going to keep the guns firing. Going to start turning away, use the rear-mounted guns just to keep shooting him, while also trying to avoid the torpedo bombers here. And AAA's opening up. There goes high caliber. And we're just basically going to try and outrun these bombers and just keep shooting him up, try and kill him, because if we kill this guy, he's toast. Oh, torpedoes. It looks like I'm just going to most of the way outrun these things, because I'm lined up so that they won't hit me. And I'm just going to keep firing at this carrier. And the torpedoes really aren't gaining any ground on me. Set him on fire again. He can't launch any more planes. There we go. Sunk him. And that ended the game. Blown up, which is cool. So high caliber Confederate, 5 kills, a whole bunch of hits, a whole bunch of damage. And that's kind of what this ship does. You need to be a little bit more tactical with it, but you can really, really pump out damage with those fast-firing guns, slinging that HE and setting everybody on fire. So let's move on to the final opinion, shall we? Alright, so opinion time. What do I think of the Omaha? The Omaha is actually a really good little Tier 5 cruiser. Right? It's kind of at a tier where things aren't really heating up, so the being quick is good enough. Its guns, its armament is good. The issue the Omaha sometimes runs into is that it can't really stand up to battleships one-on-one. I mean, you saw that you can go head-on to them, but eventually you close the range, and they just eat you alive, because then their guns can actually just hit your sides because you're so close. I've had a couple games where I've gotten to within like 4 kilometers of a battleship, and even though I'm heading straight at them, they just open up and they're able to hit me and destroy me at that close range. So it's a ship you need to be careful in, but it's definitely a severe threat to destroyers, definitely a severe threat to carriers. If it's not the focus of a battleship, it can really cause some problems, and its maneuverability is such that you can actually dodge a lot of incoming fire, especially from battleships at range. So the Omaha's a really, really good little ship. It's certainly worth grinding through, and you'll have a lot of fun doing it. And it also kind of gets you ready for... it's kind of like if you can do the Omaha playstyle, I feel like you'll be very suited towards the Cleveland and later ships, because American cruisers generally don't want to be shot. The Cleveland does not want to get hit. Well, I guess most cruisers don't want to get hit. Well, no ship wants to get hit, but the Omaha especially, because it has no armor, and its citadel seems to be pretty big. And it generally gets citadeled a fair amount from things like battleships, which I guess makes sense. But all in all, it's a really good ship. If you're grinding for it, don't worry. You'll have a lot of fun. You'll earn a lot of credits, earn a lot of XP, set a bunch of ships on fire, and cause a lot of damage. So, that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to put them in the comment section. And maybe suggest what my next ship review should be. You can see I do have the Otago that I'm working on that one. But we'll see. So anyway, thanks for watching. I've been Corny Swiss, and I'll see you next time.